Morning, students. This is Miss Dittinger here. I just wanted to give you a quick review about what we've learned so far this year with Rome. So to start us off, I wanted to talk a little bit about geography. As you guys know, Italy is on the European continent and it looks like a boot. And it is surrounded by the Mediterranean Sea, which we've talked about is good for trade, and it also helps them with transportation. And the Roman Empire was just a little bit larger than the United States. The city of Rome was located in the middle. And Italy is surrounded by mountains, which is great for protection. So Rome grew by conquering her neighbors. Some people were taken away as slaves, and the rest were forced to pay taxes. This led to many unhappy people living in the empire. We'll skip our little brain snack. So, governing the conquered people. Most of the people Rome conquered remained free. People were allowed to keep their religion, and local rulers could still rule. Romans put in a governor, which had an army. Romans wanted peace, taxes, and for the people to buy their goods. Romans saw unconquered people as barbarians and wanted to civilize the world, so they brought new technology to conquered areas. This kind of helped keep the peace and make people happy and want to stay a part of the empire. But as we know, eventually this all kind of falls apart. Rome split their territory into provinces, which are similar to states. If you see here, these different colored outlines are provinces. This helped make Rome easier to govern because they could split up into smaller sections, have a governor in charge, and made it easier to control their people. So we're going to talk about technology and contributions. First, we have architecture. Romans borrowed extensively from the Greeks, but unlike the Greeks, they actually tried to improve their architecture. They thought of better ways to build things and would try out new things. The Roman buildings were usually bigger, stronger, and heavier than Greek architecture, and the Romans invented concrete. Roads. The Romans built roads so they could quickly move the army to any part of the empire. I know it seems strange that this is considered a type of technology, but it actually was a very new thing and helped make the Roman army more efficient because they could travel quickly. This also helped stop attacks and ensure peace. It also helped make trade easier. And they built enough roads to circle the earth twice. Aqueducts. You guys got to watch a Zaption about aqueducts, and we also got to build them. But aqueducts are man-made structures that were used to move water into town using only the power of gravity. This is how the Romans essentially had running water in all of their cities. It's one of their most advanced technologies. And we have the Colosseum. It's famous for gladiator fights. It could be flooded to hold naval battles. And provided free entertainment to everyone in the empire to help distract them from their problems. The end of the empire. This is where we're talking about the beginning of the end. We have Caesar, who is the man who is credited with ending the republic by making Rome a dictatorship. If you remember, a republic was kind of a form of democracy where people had a say in the government. Caesar changed all that and made it so that Rome was a dictatorship. Caesar was murdered, and after that, Rome went into chaos and had 13 years of fighting. And Octavian was the one who won the Civil War. Octavian was a great ruler. He was known as Augustus, or the Revered One. He helped strengthen borders and brought Rome into a golden age called Pax Romana, which was this great age of peace that lasted 206 years. Here's our famous Bad Emperors video. You could definitely YouTube that. We have Caligula. He became very sick in 37 CE, which made him very crazy. As you all know, Caligula did some crazy things like forget to tell his army that they were going to invade Britain and decided to fight the god Poseidon instead. So not very sane. He thought he was a god, and he was murdered while attending a play about Augustus. Nero. He was known for putting on plays and executing people who did not like them. He also murdered his half-brother, mother, and wife, and put his horse in the Senate. Nero was another crazy emperor that did a lot of terrible things and helped bring Rome kind of down and make it start to fall apart. He also burned down the city of Rome and blamed it on the Christians. So this is another way that he literally destroyed Rome in some ways. Next, we have Hadrian. He was considered one of the greatest Roman emperors ever. It was a welcome break from these terrible emperors that came before him. He made laws the same throughout the entire empire and protected women. He reorganized the army so they could protect where they were actually from. He realized that soldiers would be a lot happier if they could stay in an area that they were familiar with and knew, rather than sending them off to far off places. He built Hadrian's Wall to help keep barbarians out of Britain, and this worked for some time, but we know eventually it doesn't quite work. But it worked during Hadrian's time, so that is why he is considered one of the greats. Finally, we have Marcus Aurelius. He's considered the last good emperor the Roman Empire had. He built a lot of public works. Public works are things like roads, baths, bridges, things like that that really help the public. He cared very much for the empire and its people, and his son Commodus was not like his father and was a very bad ruler. Commodus is definitely the start of the end of the Roman Empire. He was the one that pretended to be a gladiator and would sick a lion into the crowd if people were not fans of what he did in the ring. So these are just a few of the bad emperors. We are going to continue on talking about what the Roman Empire did and how it fell apart later on. But if you remember from the other day, we read those little paragraphs about the fall of Rome. Some key things to remember. Rome fell because it was too big to control. Also, the weak government or bad emperors, which led to political instability. There was also a bad economy. People were unemployed because of this bad economy. Taxes became very high, so that really hurt the empire in many ways. And finally, the soldiers. The army was not good anymore because they didn't have any citizen soldiers. The army became very expensive, and the soldiers were not loyal to the Roman Empire. So these were some things that helped lead to the fall of Rome. So make sure that you study these key points. I'm sure you guys are all going to do great on your quiz. Let me know if you have any questions.